is lost from an old home through 5 areas. About 10% goes out through the loft, 20% through the glass, 30% through drafts, 25% through the walls and 15% through the floors. So to reduce the heat loss, the best things you can do to start with are install loft insulation, draft proofing, secondary glazing and where appropriate sloping ceiling insulation. So that's what Mitchell and Dickinson was commissioned to do in the village of Clovelly.
Clovelly is a fishing village built on a 400-foot cliff with roads so narrow that the cars can't get down, and you walk down past these tiny cottages to a 14th century harbour at the base.
The objectives of Insulating Clovelly was to make the housing stock more warm and comfortable for the tenants, to reduce their heating costs and to meet minimum energy efficiency standards required by law to enable you to rent out your property.
Very early on I was convinced that we needed to do, our approach should be fabric first, i.e. address the heat losses within the cottage rather than try and do a quick fix of installing high heat retention radiators. The disadvantages of the latter was that whilst they would earn EPC points, they would not address our tenants' problems, which is spending too much money on heating the property.
We topped up the loft insulation from 100 to 300 millimetres. We installed elegant, very durable and concealed brushes in the doors and windows which sealed up the drafts. And we also installed our proprietary secondary glazing system called cozy glazing. Now cozy glazing is unique because it's made of plexiglass fitted onto the windows with magnetic tape. And so it's actually virtually invisible when in place. You can open your doors and windows as usual, and we even developed some special catches especially for the village of Clovelly because it has these very fine wooden windows. And so the end result is that those properties are 40% warmer on average, but if you go in, nobody can tell the difference. And in fact, the windows look so much better than they did because they've been beautifully restored at the same time.
The complexities of working in the village were quite extreme. All of the materials come into the top of the village and they get brought down on a sledge. We took over one of the properties about halfway down the street, which we used as our workshop and our storage place. We set up a workshop in there. We then worked in various properties from kind of property to property. And then of course, we were working in people's homes. Most of the properties are quite small, and us and our team trying to work in and around those people, around their belongings in their homes, in quite tight spaces. So the team needed to be really, really sympathetic of that environment.
What we love about living here is community spirit, just the area itself. Everyone's so friendly. All the heating is done through the Rayburn. It heats the hot water, and also one radiator that we've got up in the top bedroom. The soundproofing on the windows is amazing. You can, with the windows open obviously, you can hear things, but as soon as you shut the windows, especially on the top floor, it just blanks all the sound out. Draft free. You know, so yeah, it stays cosy in the cottage. So the work's been carried out in the house is obviously all the windows, like I said, bespoke. To every window's has to be cut to size. We've had the loft insulated, obviously up through this very small hatch, but that's insulated with sheep's wool up there, and because of the sloping ceilings they had problem there, but they've devised an insulation that goes up there, and the void in here has been filled as well, so we don't notice any heat loss through the roof. And also we can tell the old-fashioned way that if you've got snow on your roof when it snowed, then you've got good insulation. This is the insulating for the windows. Yeah, as you can see, they quite cleverly disguise the magnetic strips. But like, that's simple to clean as well. Plunge you get given the day you move in. Yeah, so the magnetic strips are just on the back. Obviously there and round the window, and that's what holds them in, easy to clean. Just give them a quick wipe every now and again. Yeah, as simple as that for removing. It works that way with every window. We don't feel we're going to struggle with heating bills because it's so efficient. We'll be okay through the hard times.
You've got several houses in the village that look alike from the outside. They are all totally unique inside. It's so cold because you've got the north wind that comes up. And when you've got a northeasterly wind, it's just like something slicing you with ice. I think my Rayburn used to be going 24/7. And you got fed up because the amount of coal you used and wood. And also living in this village, we lugged that coal down the cobbles. So it was freezing. So you took a shower, you didn't sit and linger in the bath, you took a shower and you legged it to go in the front room in front of the fire to warm up. But you slept with a hoodie on a lot of the time. And obviously the roofs are just slate with tongue and groove. That was it. I was apprehensive about having people in the house because I had a little two-year-old, and I was expecting my next little girl. So it was a bit, just being very uneasy about, oh my God, could I cope with all of it? It wasn't the mess I was expecting. And like if my little boy went down for a sleep, they'd have their lunch when he was having his sleep. So no, they were really good, really, really good. Right, so when the guys from Mitchell and Dickinson came, they obviously knew the houses and they'd taken note of all the houses being very different. And we had all the window insulation put in, so they did all the windows. They don't have any rattly windows anymore. And where you had the cellar, obviously the houses are cob and cobble, so they've got to breathe, so they use the sheep's wool insulation. So you could walk in that room with no shoes on, even in the winter. It was beautiful. And then when you went up to the top of the houses, the insulation went up between the beams. You wouldn't have known they'd been once they'd been. They didn't take anything away from the building. And I actually remember the first day after they'd done it, I got my little boy dressed out of the bath and that, and he ran round in shorts and pyjamas in November, shorts and t-shirt pyjamas, and I didn't have fleecy pyjamas and a hoodie on. And I didn't put slippers on for the first time because we had no drafts coming through the floors. It was like, we don't need to light that fire down there, so we didn't. And the Rayburn only burnt through half a bag of coal in that whole day and night, which was like, what? We just, you couldn't comprehend it because I'd gone from using a bag or a bag and a half to using half a bag in a whole day. Since they did all the insulation in the windows, you really don't need to use this that often because it gets too hot in here, really hot. Take the catch out, it's a magnet, and you lift it and you just pull it off. Simple as that. And then we can show you that you don't have to take it off to open the windows. I can push this one up, which goes over, and you can see it behind. And it just slides up and down. You wouldn't even know it was on.
In conclusion, it has been a massively expensive project for Clovelly Estate to embark on. However, we are pleased with the result, namely that our tenants' heating bill has been reduced and the thermal efficiency of our cottages has been significantly improved without detracting from the beauty of those cottages.
By actually doing the work, we've proved that it's possible to carry out, you know, quite complex installation works in a very complex environment. We were adamant that we wanted to fit insulation to save carbon from leaking from these properties, and we found a method for doing it.
The most important outcome is that the tenants have reported anecdotally that they're so much warmer and more comfortable, and that means that the properties in Clovelly are regarded in the local area as nice properties to live in the 21st century, and you can be warm and comfortable and the heating bills are reasonable. We actually reduced the heat loss from the properties by about 40%, and many tenants reported that they were saving about half to a third of their heating bills. So that was really important. And also for the planet, there was massive carbon savings. About 5,000 tonnes of CO2 we estimate was saved by the installation as a whole over the lifetime of those products. CO2 emissions from heating Britain's homes represent 20% of the nation's carbon footprint. So insulating Britain's old housing stock is going to be an essential part of enabling Britain to meet its 2050 carbon reductions targets.
There's a sense that we've fitted, high-tech insulation measures into a historical village to the point where you can barely see that we've been there. But we've had a significant impact on the people that live in the properties.